You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot
way
Box.
into what are the options for them to add this offseason, all right? And you go through them, and if you go through the top available free agents, number one on here, is probably LeBron, the possibility of him being available. I personally don't think he's going to leave LA. This one I for sure don't think, because it's just basketball at the end of the day to LeBron these days. It's not the end of the world. He's done his thing. He won championships. I think he's going to keep getting coaches fired out in LA. I think he wants to act like he's still trying to strive for a championship and win. And he got lucky with that kind of bubble title. They had a great team that year, and everything kind of fell their way that season. But I don't think that's ever going to happen again, and I don't think they're ever going to really be relevant again. So
probably not. Also, I do think it's funny because you're not the only person. Everybody's saying, "Oh, another coach, LeBron got fired." Right before he got fired, he made comments about a certain player that were very daunting, and that's pretty much what got him, what did him in. That was the nail in the coffin. That was about D'Angelo Russell, not LeBron James. So it is interesting that he had a team full of pretty much dog shit players besides LeBron and Anthony Davis, who had their struggles with consistency. Anthony Davis, health-wise. Also, Darvin Ham was just not a good coach, I don't think, but not really sure how easy it is to be a good coach when LeBron is on the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and also when you're in LA and everybody, you're not only does LeBron have more say than you, everybody in the front office, every single person who thinks there's something genie bus, this bus, that guy, this guy, him, her, Magic Johnson.
Pelinka.
Everybody has a hand in there. I would not want to coach for the Lakers if I was anybody at all, just for those reasons. If you want to go to Minnesota, look at Chris Finch. I think he was the assistant and kind of just fell into that job. So he's probably the top guy you're saying, then Paul George, yeah?
Yeah, well, I mean, of the available free agents, because there's obviously options to trade, and the Sixers do have a good amount of picks that maybe somebody could, want them, as opposed to maybe, you're not going to trade Maxey or anything like that. So LeBron, we're taking pretty much off the board. You would want him though, right? I mean, obviously, I think it's a stupid question, but there's people out there who say, I think we have to say, because there's idiots out there who are like, no, I don't want LeBron James. Yeah. So we both obviously want him.
Yeah, we don't need him. Yeah, we're in a good spot. We don't need him.
He'd probably be number one on my list, for the record, because I know he's older and everything, but he's relatively healthy this year, and he would have less of the burden on his shoulders than he's probably ever had in his career since. I mean, even probably more than Miami. I mean, having Maxey and Embiid would probably just be like heaven to him, because he would just be able to show up and do his thing, and he would still be able to, he's shooting threes, and he could probably
young guard and the big man.
Yeah, and he could play off the ball. He could probably just, he could still facilitate. It would be the perfect next to Maxey, because Maxey doesn't really want to, or not really want to, but I don't think he's really the guy to be a guy who runs an offense and finds a bunch of guys wide, and just creating shots for everybody. And I think he can do it, but I think me and you both agree that Maxey's number one talent is just getting to the bucket, scoring, and then he's able to find assist off that. LeBron is just the ultimate, just everything. He does everything, and he's one of the greatest players. He's the second greatest player of all time, if not the number one, if you want to have that argument, which we're not going to have today on this podcast. Paul George is the next guy. Reports are that he was not offered the max contract in LA because I believe Kawhi Leonard took less, and I think they're trying to,
pay Harden too.
Yeah, they're manipulating the cap to make sure that they can keep Harden and keep all three of these guys, here in LA or there in LA. I'm not in LA. I'm in, I'm in southern New Jersey right now. But I don't know. I am not as hot, or I don't really like the idea of bringing in Paul George for the max level contract at the age of 34 years old for a guy who, I don't know, it seems like he's let his teams down in the playoffs multiple times, and he's got, after, I think the last couple years before this year, he was playing 40, 50, 20, 30 games each season, and we need a guy who's really going to be available all the time. I don't want to. The farther I go into this, it's gonna be like, damn, he's shitting on Paul George. Like, and if we get him, you're like, you were never a Paul George guy. I'm not saying I'm totally against it. It's just that there are guys I'd rather have above. Like, he's not number one on my list.
Yeah, but I think fit wise, it would be almost a perfect fit. His talent level is he's very I guess similar-ish in some ways offensively to LeBron. Not the playmaker per se, but he is a tough shot maker. One of the best tough shot makers in the league. He had this like turnaround, step back, corner fadeaway three that he just drained a couple games ago, and I think it was Game 5, one of the games against Dallas. But he has come up short before. He has injury issues. He's 34, so combining all those things, it's not a perfect recipe, but beggars can't be choosers, right? I mean, who else, do you want to go out and get DeMar DeRozan or Klay Thompson? Those guys look more cooked than Paul George is. I don't see Siakam. Like, that's another guy who's not young. He's not as old, but he's in his 30s. I think I'd take Paul George all day. He gives you pretty much a little bit of everything, offensively, defensively, everything. He's obviously has, all that vet experience. Yeah, him and Embiid, there's probably going to be a lot of games they don't play together, but I just don't know what else there is really to do, who else there is to get, and I think those three together, Maxey, Embiid, and Paul George, it's hard to argue that they'd be top 2, top 3 at worst trios in the league.
So I guess, yeah, like you made mention of, like, you don't want guys like Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's completely.
I mean, I would take Klay, right?
But not for what the money that he
reason.
thinks he's gonna command.
Yeah.
Like he just made 38 a year this year. It would be basically like
20.
signing an old. I mean, he's 3 years older than Tobias Harris right now. I'm not doing that. He's only good.
But if you can give him 25 a year or something like that, I feel like maybe I would do that. Yeah,
I think he's just so.
If you get DeRozan, if you have to get DeRozan, maybe you just pair somebody who can shoot with him, because DeRozan's not really a shooter. Klay, I agree. I think he is kind of cooked. I think he's just. There's been games where how long did he have a leash for? Meanwhile, Jonathan Kuminga is playing his ass off, and he couldn't get any fourth quarter minutes. And then they finally, after so long, made a change, and that kind of woke up Klay, I think. But the fact that he needed that to happen, he came off that bad injury. He's also getting old, and then on this team, I mean, it's different. There's a comfortability with Golden State. You know what I mean? They all love him out there, and he's with Draymond, and he's with Curry. I think playing with Maxey and Embiid, I don't think that's a downgrade at all, but it's not what he's used to. It's not something he's got. Also, he seems kind of like I don't know. He seems very laid back, relaxed. He doesn't really give a fuck. Remember that picture? There's him sitting away from the huddle the one time where he was having a terrible game and he was like smiling or whatever. So I don't know how he would really love being here.
No, he would not fit in here whatsoever. Yeah, that's
also his defense very overrated.
Yeah, and I think it was good at one point. It's just the injuries really added up for him. It sucks. Yep. He got really unlucky, that ACL and then the Achilles right after it, and he was just never really the same ever again. It just sped up his falling off so quickly and radically that it just became untenable. You can't really have him out on the floor and be a championship level team unless he comes back and he's a different player. Like, I think he's like a good role player. He can still bang threes, but he's going to be the money that he's going to command and make. He's going to be expected to do a lot more than just that, and it's going to be brutal. Tobias Harris is on this list. No, thank you. Obviously, that goes without saying. James Harden, he's on the list. No. Pascal Siakam, I would be about that. I just don't know if the money would be worth what he's going to command as well. I don't think that would make much sense. Would you want OG Anunoby? He's a player. He's got a player option for this upcoming offseason. I don't know if seeing him play in this past playoff series. I guess I wasn't.
He's all right.
He's just okay, right? Yeah, like that's what I thought. Yeah. That was just like okay, whatever. DeMar DeRozan, you made mention of. He's a little bit older now too. If you can get him on a cheaper-ish deal. If some of these other guys, go elsewhere or stay at home where they are at, then maybe you can make a move like that. Before we get into some of the other trade options, I guess I wanted to hear of what players do the Sixers have that you would want to keep? Like, Would you want Lowry to come
I
back?
guess Oubre and Lowry cheap deals. I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind, but
minimum. Like I guess Oubre probably is going to get paid though. That's why I think he's going to go else. I don't know, but the NBA is weird though because it's like if you're not one of them guys, then you're just going to get paid by like the Rockets or something, and then you're going to get like passed around the league at some point because nobody really wants to pay your contract of 4
we might be
years,
able to keep him.
$45 million or something like that.
I think we might be able to keep him on like a 1 year, 5, 10 something $1 million deal. I wouldn't be against it. Lowry, I wouldn't be against. He's probably getting the vet minimum. I think he probably wants to stay in Phillies from here. I wouldn't be against that either. Bring him off the bench.
Sure.
Play a couple minutes. You need somebody that can play off the bench. We don't really have anybody.
Batum?
I don't know if Batum's. Yeah, maybe. I think he can give you a little bit, but I want to get a little bit younger.
True.
These guys are all
old.
In their mid to late 30s. So, yeah, I'm not sure. What do you think about the controversial Miles Bridges?
No. Well, I mean,
No.
I just think he's probably like somebody's going to pay him.
Yeah.
And the guy's not a good guy to begin with. So I'm not going to get too worked up about him.
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell might be a free agent. Is that anything that would that?
No.
No. See, like that's the thing though. You start going through some of these names. Tyus Jones is a guy that the Sixers or at least Sixers fans have really loved the idea of having. I guess pairing him next to Maxey, but I guess I'd want a little bit of a bigger guard to kind of play next to Maxey. But other than that, though, it would be all the role players, the Morris twins. There's Malik Monk is a free agent. There's
Malik Monk.
Alec Burks, who's kind of on the other way. Talon Horton Tucker. Hey, there's your boy.
Yeah.
Joe Ingles is going to be a senior citizen soon. You got Rocco, who just his knee just disintegrated on us. Coming down the stretch here for the playoffs. So you got Gary Harris, who's going to be a free agent. Those are the kind of guys, I guess, I hope that the Sixers could maybe swindle a couple deals here and there to maybe bring in some guys who can make some plays for them off the bench, but not really holding on to hope there. Not really going to get all worked up at the idea of some of these guys. Drummond's a free agent as well. Like the Sixers need to get a backup center. That for sure goes without saying, I think. Some of the other options, Ty, that could be available. What are your thoughts on Brandon Ingram? Because
I don't love him.
That's the thing. I love this guy coming out of the draft. Back in the day. I wanted him over Ben Simmons. I told all my buddies that at the time. They said you're an idiot. It's like okay. It's like one of the only things I've gotten right. Where, but just because off the fact that, Ben Simmons fell off a cliff and just literally didn't learn. And then he's at the Met Gala wearing.
I don't even know where he is.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, did you see him? Did you see him at the Met Gala?
No, I didn't.
He looked insane, dude. He was wearing some wild shit. But at the very least, Ingram has become like a perennial 20-point per game scorer. And he got hurt this year and bounced back pretty quick. But, I mean, the last 5 years, 64 games, 45, 55, 61, 62. So I guess somewhat available, at all times. But I see people are worried about his capability of playing next to an Embiid or a Tyrese Maxey and see that, like, he doesn't really play well without the ball in his hands. He's not a great defender. So I don't know how well he would really fit in with some of these other guys.
He does to shoot middies.
Yeah, I think he's like a poor man's Kevin Durant. He always kind of has been, and a real poor man's Kevin Durant. So I don't know, and I don't even know if in a trade is it pretty much that we're just going to be trading a lot of picks because we don't really have any. We're just kind of absorbing these guys onto the cap is the idea. I would assume, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe
because we don't have anything to trade.
Yeah. So what do how are we even getting some of these deals done?
Maybe we sign and trade somebody and throw them to them. I don't know if we can even do that if they're free. I don't really know. I'm sure some guy at home is punching his steering wheel while he's driving, listening to this podcast, saying, "You guys have no fucking idea how the NBA cap works." I try to.
I do not.
Yeah, I try my best, but I really don't.
The bird rights and the these rights and the this, the that, the this many years. Yeah, it's pretty confusing.
So Brandon Ingram. What about Jimmy Butler? Obviously, that name has been getting circulated around. Jimmy Butler Him and Pat Riley have kind of, more honestly on the side of Pat Riley taking shots at Jimmy Butler, saying that he should keep his mouth shut if he's not in the playoffs because of the comments he made. I kind of felt bad with Jimmy Butler. He was all banged up coming out of some club. He's just all drunk. He's just like, you know what, bro, I'd have cooked all of them. Which, come on, why do we have to record these guys just talking their shit? I didn't know it was illegal.
Let them live their life, man.
Yeah, I didn't know it was illegal to just talk your shit nowadays. But I guess when you're famous and some guy can send it to TMZ or something and make, $20 off of it, then it's a good day for that guy. But what are your thoughts on the idea of Jimmy Butler? I think if I had to guess from knowing you well enough, that you're kind of past the Jimmy Butler to Sixers.
Yeah, I'm good.
I don't think you were ever really a real Jimmy Butler guy.
No, I'm not a big Jimmy Butler fan. No, I'm not. But I mean, if it was like him or like DeRozan, I guess sure. It wouldn't end well again.
Yeah.
And I just don't see what the point would be.
I think the problem is that he wants an extension in Miami, and Miami doesn't really want to give it to him because he was always injured. But what would you want to give it to him here? When he shows up and he's going to be, I think he's 35 or he's going to be 35 by the time the next season starts. No, thank you, dude. I don't want anything to do with that. Sixers rumored to be eyeing trade for all-star forwards Jimmy Butler and Brandon Ingram, according to ESPN's Brian Windhorst. So I trust Windy because he locked me down on that James Harden trade, and he's plugged. Big Windy's plugged in. The Sixers could make a move for either Jimmy Butler or Brandon Ingram, both all-star forwards, while Paul George remains at the top of their list. Those two were floated as potential options. Butler missed the postseason due to an injury and is signed for at least another season and has a player option he could exercise or decline prior to the 25-26 season. So I guess that's something to take note that maybe you could get him. I guess the only good thing is maybe you could get him for a little bit cheaper than maybe you thought, that some of these other guys are going to be available. On the flip side, Brandon Ingram could be a more realistic option should they blunder on George. He signed for just another year, opening the prospect of a sign-and trade, which I don't know what that means. But, I guess maybe they sign him and then trade him. I don't know. Even better, New Orleans will likely be warm to the idea of flipping him as they retool their roster around Zion Williamson. So it sounds like Brandon Ingram is going to get moved. It sounds like they are tired of him, I guess, or they're trying to run the Zion Williamson Brandon Ingram duo has kind of run its course down there in New Orleans. So I think as this podcast is going on, I'm kind of warming up to the idea of Brandon Ingram coming into the city. How about it doesn't seem like this is a realistic option, but Kevin Durant is another name that has been out there as well. And
I say no.
I would love Kevin Durant. I really would. I think he would be perfect. He can play defense. He can score. He can do all sorts of stuff. I don't think he would really like playing here because the ball won't be in his hands as much as maybe he would want. And I don't think the Suns are going to trade him for picks because they really don't have their best option really is to just kind of play this out until the end. Keep running the same trio and maybe trying to shuffle the deck and find other players that can play next to Beal, Booker, and Durant. And then the Beal's not going anywhere because he's got a no-trade clause. Durant is getting older, so you're not going to get the players that you want for him. And Booker is probably just staying there. And you could trade him. You could probably get something good for him, but what would be the point at that point? So seems like, let me see if you had to stack up your top 3 or 5, Ty, Sixers options that you want to bring in this offseason. What would you put them at?
My top 3 or 5, you said?
Yeah. As the St. Pete's Police. Oh, my God. What is this cop?
Who they have?
Yeah, this cop's coming in to arrest you for whatever you're about to say. So
yeah, I guess one would be Paul George.
Okay.
I guess LeBron. We're not going to put LeBron in because that's probably unrealistic. I guess 2 would be. Ingram.
Okay.
And then 3 Jimmy Butler.
All right.
How about that? I might put Butler at 3. I don't know what maybe there's somebody else that we don't know about. Maybe we can somehow get Trae Young for cheap. Maybe we can
Donovan Mitchell. is another name that's kind of out there. I don't think he'll be available, but
Probably not.
maybe there is a name out there that we're not thinking of that could sneakily become available for these picks. That I don't know who that would be. If you scour the entire NBA, it's going to be tough. I wouldn't want a Trae Young. I really didn't. I would not. I don't think we would have
Chris Middleton.
No.
No,
not at all.
Kyrie. I doubt he would even
No.
become available. I don't think he is. But what else is there?
Exactly. Laurie Marketing, which I don't think that's
Darius Garland. I think he's not good at all after watching him get exposed in the playoffs. Malik Monk would be an interesting option, but again, that's not really moving the needle. So,
No.
I don't know.
You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box.